All right, guys, back with another YouTube video. We are at the gym currently drinking our pre. And yeah, another training session. Today we have posterior. So this is the middle of week 4 of our new split, of our growth phase, of our diet plan. Some days we don't stick to the diet 100%. And I'm not too worried about that for one reason, right? We are still in a growth phase. So if I go off plan in terms of food, it's not a huge deal if I was really cutting, right? Especially because of point 2, I am more worried about my macros than I am the exact sort of meals I'm eating and carb timing and how much protein I'm actually getting every single day. So if I go off plan, it's just not the specific meal I have written down, but the macros are aligning, or I'd be mindful of when I'm eating. If I'm not sticking to the diet plan, to make the macros sort of line up for each meal, if that makes sense. So anywho, week 4 of this new training split, anterior, posterior, I've been absolutely loving it. And like I mentioned in the last video, it's because of the frequency. It's just so nice. I go in every single leg day and I get some sort of upper body workout, which I love. And then I get some sort of leg workout, which I also love. The more I do it and the more I think about it, it's just such a nice split because my legs are definitely a weak point. My upper body just grows faster. It's just more genetically gifted. But I was only doing 2 times a week for legs. And then even with that, right, you got to take into account someone who's been training 8 years like me, right? The amount of stimulus I need for a leg day, a total leg day for growth, right, for hypertrophy and strength is going to be a lot harder than someone who's a year into lifting, 2 years into lifting, 4 years into lifting kind of thing. The amount of frequency or the amount of volume I need on each leg day for only doing it twice a week, and then given how much I can lift, how much stimulus I actually need to grow my legs after training for 8 years, it's just not very comprehensible to have a whole leg day, a dedicated leg day in my eyes, right? Because you got to hit quads, hamstrings, glutes, adductors, abductors, calves. It's just too much volume on a leg day. And then throughout my lift, right, especially if I'm squatting or deadlifting that day or a heavy leg press too, it's just you start to burn out rather quickly doing a whole leg day like that. So that's kind of the main purpose I started this split of anterior posterior, because I'm able to hit my quads on one day, right, and go till failure and really push my quads and adductors. And then on posterior day, I'm able to hit my calves, hamstrings, and glutes all out till failure, like actually exerting my full-on effort, intensity, all that, knowing I only have to hit quads, right? If I'm going into a leg day knowing, okay, I only have to hit quads, right, but I'm able to still train my upper body, which is fine, but I'm only having to hit quads, I'm already going to be in a much better space mentally, having the confidence that I'm going to have a successful leg day, right? Leg day, but quad day, right? Instead of me going into a leg day, maybe saying, okay, I first have to squat for 4 sets or 3 sets or whatever, and then do RDLs, and then do hamstrings, and then do quad extension, and then do calves, and then do abductors and adductors, right? It's just a lot more mentally fatiguing just to think about how hard you got to push for a whole entire leg day, in my sense, in my eyes, right? And I'm not saying it's not hard, it's not fun to challenge yourself mentally. Of course it is. I've done it all the time, guys. But it gets to a point where you want to be smarter about your training, especially this far on in the training, especially the goals I have in mind. So by splitting the leg days up, I'm able to hit legs more throughout the week, and I'm also able to train them a little harder because I'm only hitting quads one day or hamstrings, glutes, and calves one day kind of thing. Especially now, I'm not squatting, benching, or deadlifting. I'm getting off my power building phase, which I started since I started lifting. I did push-pull legs with some sort of compound movement since I started lifting. So this anterior-posterior split, I've completely taken out those barbell compounds, took out barbell RDLs, right? And now we're still doing free weights, but we're really focused on muscle hypertrophy during this growth phase, putting on actual muscle size and strength. And then maybe next year, again, I'll start transitioning back into, or maybe later this year, I might start transitioning back into a power building split or a powerlifting split or something, including a compound lift. But for right now, I'm doing a growth phase. I'm actually sticking to my meal plan. I'm eating in a caloric surplus. I'm getting good amounts of protein. I'm eating 700 grams of carbs on training days. So I really just want to see how much I can grow within the next 12 weeks of this growth phase, right? So we're in week 4 right now. But enough of that rambling. We're in week 4, day 2. We had to skip yesterday because we had a busy day, so we just pushed everything back a day, which is totally fine too, right? If I went to the gym yesterday, it would have been at 11 p.m. And it's like, is that worth it when I could just rest the rest of that night and then now just hit posterior today? That's the kind of thing you need, the dilemma you got to also take into consideration. But we got posterior today. I'm going to start with cable RDLs. Cable RDLs for one. Then we go straight into assisted pull-up, neutral grip, and wide grip. Then straight into seated calf raise. Then straight into a single arm preacher curl. And then into, if I recall, preacher curl. Then we go into a rope cable hammer curl for our brachialis. Then we go to some hip abduction. And then we got to do some rear delt flies and or T-bar rows or Kelso shrugs. I do any of that. This gym's not really good for rear delt flies, so I try to substitute for another mid-back exercise. But yeah, probably one set of T-bar row with everything else. And that probably will call it, guys. So we got to go to work in an hour and a half. Work's about a 20-minute drive. So we're really going to be pushing it. It's 5:30 right now. We got to get to work by 7, so we'll see what happens. But let's go in there. I'm not going to film my warm-up. I'm going to do the same thing I did in the other videos where I just do a voiceover just because I don't have the time or energy to talk during my lift, especially in this training block, guys. I don't really socialize or anything, so I'm just locked into my training. So that's how it's going to be. But I'll do a voiceover going over what we did, and you guys will see, obviously. But it's super hot. I'm super tired. My allergies are bad. And yeah, we're just going to smash this finish this pre-up. Got our dextrose in there. We got our creatine and pre-workout. And then in here, we got a couple more scoops of dextrose. And then today, since I had one of these left, I'm gonna have an Element hydration packet. I think I do have a Legion one too somewhere. Yeah, on days like this, guys, you are going through sweating. You are burning a lot of sodium. You're burning a lot of potassium, a lot of magnesium, a lot of energy. So it's very important, especially on any sort of training day, but specifically when it's hot out, when your gym really doesn't have air conditioning and you're sweating and you're training hard. Electrolytes intra-workout are a must. So no Legion today, but Element, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. This is gonna slap. So yeah, let's get in there and start lifting. All right, guys, we're back with another voiceover. Today was posterior day. We are starting with a seated cable RDL. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram or TikTok, but I've posted about these before. One of my favorite exercises right now because it really loads a lot of stress and strain off your, upper body, your core, your back, and really just really helps you hit your glutes, hamstrings, and lower back how you want to hit them. And you can really overload it, especially if you have a gym pin or are able to stack free weights on it as well. But one of my favorite exercises that I've been doing, that I've been implementing into my training, and I did about 2 sets of this till failure. I believe I only recorded the first set just because it's a weird angle to film. But the goal is our knees are slightly bent and we're hinging. We're doing that same hinge that we would do in an RDL, but now we're just seated on a cable, right? And there's constant tension because of that cable. But one of my favorite exercises is these cable seated RDLs. We did about 2 sets of 10 reps, I believe, with full stack and then plus the 2 45s. So yeah, very good movement. Give it a try if you want. It's a great exercise. Now we're moving into assisted pull-ups. We are doing 2 sets of neutral grip, as you can see here, and then 2 sets of wide grip that you'll see later. Neutral grip, right, we are doing shoulder extension, which is one of the primary actions of the lat. So doing 2 sets, and I really do like this exercise because the resistance profile in general, it's different from a cable, right? The cable, it's going to be hardest at the bottom, whereas a assisted pull-up, it is hardest at the top, where the lats have the most leverage. So I think you're able to get more of a stimulus, more of a better contraction, and just overall muscle growth doing an assisted pull-up version. Obviously, you can do cable if you want, but I prefer the assisted, at least right now. I only filmed 1 set of each. Or no, this is the second set actually. So I did film 2 sets of the neutral grip. But another great overall back exercise for your lats especially. And the trick is just to control the weight, right? We don't want to go all the way down. As you can see, I'm leaving a slight bend in my elbow, right? So we want constant tension on our lats. We don't want to go fully down and have that weight go into our shoulder joint. We want to keep the lats tensed or using or being able to be used and utilized, because that is what we're trying to target with this exercise. We did 2 sets, about eight reps. Now you can see we're going into the wide grip, right? So more of a pronated grip, wide grip for shoulder adduction or arm adduction, bringing those elbows to our torso, towards our side. Same thing, we did 2 sets of 8 reps, I believe. And then same thing, right? We're not fully extending our elbow, keeping constant tension on our lats. But both great exercises for your lats, great exercises for your back, and some of my favorite, especially because they're easy to set up, they're easy to load or unload, and you're able to do both exercises at the same piece of equipment. So it's very good for time efficiency and just being effective. So as you can see, we did film another set of the wide grip from the side angle. And the goal with this, right, is week by week, either one, increase reps, increase form and technique, or lower the assistance needed, right? Because we want to be progressively overloading every single week. And that's the goal, right? You're not going to progress every single week. We're all human. It is, theoretically impossible to progress every single week, but making strides, whether it's technique, form, volume, weight, things like that can really help. Now, calves are a big focus point for this training, this growth phase that we're working on. So they are the 4th exercise we are doing on this posterior day. With the calves, right, you really want to be able to overload them because you're walking on your calves every single day. So it's very easy for your calves to not get enough stimulus within the gym because they're so used to walking, right, lifting your leg up, your foot up every single step you take. So it's really important you overload them, right, and you really focus on that eccentric and that stretch at the bottom, because that is where your calf is not used to, because you're always walking on flat ground. So it does a lot of plantar flexion, but not a lot of dorsiflexion. We did 2 sets of that. We're moving into seated hamstring curls. Now you can lean forward. I used to lean forward all the time, but I found it to be more helpful if I'm leaning back into the pad and then pushing against the leg pad, right? Because this really helps me lock in the movement. It really helps with stability, and those are big variables that we want to be able to control when doing any sort of movement, right? Because we're targeting the hamstrings. We don't want to have our hips shoot up or use too much momentum or have poor stability. We want to be able to stay in one place and really drive that weight through our hamstrings, as you can see there. So we did go ahead and film both sets as well. I love to control the eccentric at least a second or two, right? And then really emphasizing knee flexion without letting my hips and momentum do the work of bringing my weight or my feet back down or the weight back down. Really try to work those hamstrings and be self-conscious and self-aware of your hamstrings and how they are being worked. So we did 2 sets of that. As you can see, the hamstrings were burning, guys. Now we moved into a single arm preacher curl. I actually might switch this out to just a bilateral preacher curl, not unilateral. But still an overall great exercise. Preacher curl is one of my favorite exercises for the biceps because that same thing, stability is a focal point. Stability is something that we want to prioritize, and being able to use a preacher curl where your arm is stationary will really help target just the bicep and the muscle we are actually trying to train with the specific movement. We did about 6 to 8 reps, maybe even 5 reps, just for 2 sets of each arm, right? But yeah, same thing, trying to progress the weight every single week. I believe I only filmed 1 set of this exercise though, but you guys can see the right and left arm both being worked. Really good exercise, one of my favorite bicep exercises. Oh, look at that. So we did film both sets. I don't really have much to talk about here, but as you can see, the actual machine itself has 3, little areas where you can put weight on. And I like to put it at the top because that is where the movement is the hardest. That is where your bicep is getting the most elbow flexion. And I think that's going to target the biceps a little more. So it's the same thing with resistance profile, right? You can go in crazy depth about resistance profile and figuring out where the weight needs to be or what specific movements target the muscle group you're trying to train the best based on the resistance profile. So if I put the weight on the lower one or the second or the middle one, it's going to be a little easier at that top portion than it is now with the weight at the top rack. But that's just how I like to set it up. And that gives me a great just burn and overall muscle recruitment. So 2 total sets of unilateral preacher curl, as you can see there. Now, on my posterior days, I do hip abduction, so bringing the legs out, working those lateral rotators in our glutes, right? So we just did about 1 set of this till failure, right? Everything is taken till failure. The whole point of this split is we're doing low volume, but everything is max intensity, max effort. That way we're getting enough stimulus without building too much fatigue with, just a bunch of junk volume. We then move into a rope cable hammer curl. So same thing with resistance profile. You can do, dumbbell hammer curls. I prefer the cable one because of the constant tension through the cable, but then also this movement, the hardest point is at the top, and that's where the bicep or the brachialis is getting the most stimulus compared to a dumbbell hammer curl. The hardest motion is, that first degree of elbow flexion at the very bottom, where bicep and brachialis are not able to have the best leverage. So doing a cable is a much better option if you are trying to prioritize muscle growth. And then we did finish, I believe this is the last exercise we did, finish with a rear delt fly, unilateral again. So single arm rear delt fly, 2 sets of this till failure. I think we aimed for about 8 to 10 reps, if I'm not mistaken. But one of these, this is a new exercise that I really haven't done in my training for the last 4 years or so. But ever since I started the split, I really started implementing reverse pec deck flies or rear delt flies once more, just to really build those rear delts, give me that capped full shoulder look. So yeah, as you can see there, just some nice rear delt flies, guys. Nothing crazy, but I believe this is the last exercise we did today for that training session. Yep, and then finish off with some posing, right? Let's see what we got. Take the back. Oh, pretty good. Shoulders are looking pretty solid. Back width is getting there. That's something that I've been prioritizing, especially with my back training. It's just width rather than thickness, because I think I do have pretty good thickness, but I'm really trying to get that lat width. As you can see, it's still not the best, especially with me just having a wide waist. My lat width is not the best, but that's what we're really trying to prioritize during this growth phase, during this posterior split, anterior split. But from that angle, it doesn't look half bad, right? From that back lat spread, it doesn't look half bad. But yeah, we definitely have, work to do, muscle to put on, posing needs work, weak points still need to be brought up. But we are just, as you're seeing this, we are one month into
lift complete. Hopefully you enjoyed the little voiceover. But I think that was the 4th or 5th YouTube video for this new series of just training in the growth phase. I'm gonna try to get at least a couple workout videos out every week, along with a couple YouTube whiteboard videos. So stay tuned for, more content and all that fun stuff. But yeah, posterior complete. I am gassed. About to go to work now. 4-hour shift, nothing crazy, but 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. But we got a meal with us. We're gonna edit this video, do some client work, and just have a productive, chill rest of the evening. So, these turns, man, they get you. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about my workout routine, my split, why I train how I do, please go ahead and leave some comments down below. I try to respond to every single YouTube comment I get. So if you comment, there's a 99.9% chance I will respond. So yeah, I read almost every comment as well. So if you are curious about something or have a question about anything in general, go ahead and feel free to drop it down, and I'll be more than happy to answer that. So yeah, posterior, I think I filmed almost every set. There might have been a couple sets that I didn't film, I don't remember. But yeah, solid lift, about an hour and 15 minute workout session, including posing, including a little bathroom break in between. So very efficient, effective workout. And yeah, I'm glad to have had a good training day, especially in this heat. 95 degrees out, man, so it was a hot one, but electrolytes helped, and the carbohydrates helped a lot too. So make sure you're fueled and energized and ready and prepared for your workouts, especially when it is hotter out like this and you sweat a little more than usual, you lose a little more energy quicker than usual, stuff like that. Stay tuned for more future videos, guys. Please leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this video, and like always, if you are new, please consider subscribing. We are training hard. We are putting out content every day. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I post multiple times a day on both of those platforms, so go ahead and check me out. Zachluch on Insta, Zachluch with 2 H's on TikTok. But yeah, have a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this video. God bless you all. I'll see you in the next video.